Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show on Pursuit Channel and Wild TV. You are now tuned into our weekly podcast hosted by executive producer Kyle Green, production coordinator Jeff Hutchinson, director AJ Beadle, and creative producer Ryan Parks. We live in a world where our natural resources are almost solely protected by funds raised by hunters and fishermen, with over 60% of those funds coming from white males over the age of 55. The Greenway Outdoors team has set out on a mission to create content that would inspire millennials, Generation Z, and new sportsmen and women to get out, hunt, fish, and contribute towards conservation and the betterment of our planet. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jeff.
AJ. Ryan.
I like how I looked at the sheet as if I had to verify my name.
Oh God.
Speaking of funny mix-ups, because that's kind of like a good segue there, we had a little bit of a
Let's dive right into it.
Yeah, let's dive right in. We had a few mix-ups and some complaints, so I wanted to try and tackle it here where no one actually pays attention, and and mention the fact that last week we were supposed to air our walleye episode, and instead there was a little bit of a mix-up with the network, and they ended up airing a rerun of Bear, which everyone loves that episode, but we weren't supposed to.
It wasn't new.
Yeah, it was not new.
There was a lot of complaints because I wasn't in that one. So,
Yeah, everyone's like, this again?
Where's the funny guy?
No, with that being said, we actually aired, like I said, Bear, and now we've got Walleye this week, and then next week it's going to be Python, which is why at the end of this episode there is going to be no recipe because that didn't make no sense on account of
Doesn't make no sense.
don't make none sense. No, I made it worse. Didn't I?
There's a schedule right there.
Yeah, that's our schedule right there. So actually, we're going to be doing jigging for walleye this week, grabbing pythons next week, which is such an exciting episode. And then our youth whitetail hunt the following week. So also pretty exciting.
Python is my favorite episode. I love it.
I watched it. I watched it because we have it obviously privately ourselves, and I watched it with my parents. And I was like trying to get their feel for it. And like when they watch Bear and Brookshot, they go bonkers. But like Python, I was like, where's the love, people?
Really?
Yeah. I was like, this is a good episode.
A lot of tension. That kid is grabbing snakes. They're worried. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here. This is after the fact. This isn't happening right now.
I survive it.
have both hands.
Jeffrey doesn't, but I have both
Have
hands.
you seen him? Oh.
He's like Python episode filming didn't
Let
go
me tell
well for
you
Jeffrey.
something.
but no, I had everyone rank them. I'm like, out of this season, how would you rank them? And they ranked number 1 Bear, number 2 Brook Trout, number 3 Python, and number 4 Rainy Day Dove.
I get it.
Rainy Day Dove gets a bad rap.
I get it.
It
I won't be on
could
the show
go.
anymore.
The middle could switch easily.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
would
switched
say
it.
that.
Mine's Python, Bear, Trout, Dove.
Really? What about you, AJ?
I love Python.
Probably the same as Ryan.
Yeah. I think Bear, Python, Trout, Dove. Everyone's like, I'm not watching the Dove episode when it's on demand.
I really like that. It's such a different, watching the individual little clips and things that we've recorded, you think, oh, I can see how this episode's going to come together. When you started putting together Python, you were like,
I started
we
crying.
don't have an episode. No, it's ruined. We can't even, it's the best one we've ever had by far.
Yeah, I had to kind of talk him off the ledge on that one.
I freaked out a little bit.
Off the
When I was
ledge.
piecing it
He's
together.
only on the second story.
I didn't like how the shots were. Some of the shots were taken. And
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even. It makes it so awkward. No, I don't mean it like the camera guys did a bad job. I mean simply put,
We suck.
No, you guys suck. But no, it was the chaos
Pre-production.
of, oh my gosh, there's a snake. Run that sucker down and get it on camera. That's not an easy thing
No,
to
especially
film
when-
or work with.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you've never had experience with snakes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a what now?
You know.
11-footer.
10 feet? Okay.
You can talk about it all you want, but when they're like, there's a snake up here.
Well,
I know we talked about this for 5 hours, but what do we do again?
now that we've ranked the episodes we've done so far this season, we've got another. I mean, every week from here on out, there's a bunch of new episodes coming your way. 13 episodes this season, so we were obviously only talking about the first 4, or first 5, I guess, because you include Walleye. But my parents hadn't seen that seen that walleye. They ain't seen that walleye. I don't know what's wrong with me today. They haven't seen walleye yet.
Spent too much time in. I'm not going to say. Never mind what I was
Yeah,
going to say.
I was
'cause
gonna
it's
back
probably
that
offensive.
right now. Yeah, back.
Offensive to a state that loves us.
Virginia.
Oh, I know.
But that being said, we've got another lineup, but we have 12 episodes that we filmed. So we have a 13th that we still have yet to film to conclude the season. And I've been tinkering with some ideas on what I thought would be a good conclusion. And I'm pretty much open to us traveling or doing whatever, anywhere, somewhat. Ryan's like gonna spend. Ryan's like a kid. He reminds me of my niece Ashley, or my little cousin Ashley, when she's 16-year-old girl goes to the mall and she's got your credit card and it's about to go wild. But I wanted to bounce some ideas off of and actually live discuss and pre-produce an episode because I thought that'd be interesting for people to see how unorganized we really are.
I was glad you said that.
So, Ryan, I'll let you go first because you seem the most eager. But what I need as a producer here, I need to hear some ideas. So, what idea do you have for us to conclude the season? What would be a good episode for us to film?
I want to do this so bad, and I've brought it up before. I want to go down to the bayou in Louisiana.
Bayou Sorrel. They say that in swamp people. It's a thing. Never mind. Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to go down to Louisiana and find some guy who can, with no teeth, who can help us catch some crawdads and do a giant crawdad dinner where you have the gumbo and the whole table is just covered in them. I think that'd be cool.
We go down and get 6. He's like, it's a little table, but it's
There's going to be a lot of corn in this boil.
Yep.
Have you seen videos of it though?
I have.
They put the traps out and it's just packed full of them.
Oh, now he likes trapping.
Why do
Yeah,
they?
right.
Drowning them even. 'Cause they're underwater, so they're drowning.
So you want to go to Louisiana specifically?
Yeah.
Nolans.
I've never been to New Orleans,
I haven't either.
and I know AJ's thinking food already.
Beignets.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is, but I'm in.
had a lobster beignet this past weekend.
Really? I
Very
had some
good.
beignets this past weekend.
Very good.
So AJ, what do you got? What do you think?
I thought of.
He's like, let's do rabbit again. Next.
So I wanted to steer clear of land guides. I just have my own prejudice against that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Land?
for a filming standpoint,
Land guides.
like on land, like I want to do something on the water.
Okay. Okay.
So I'd like to do some big water, like either massive lake or ocean, where we're catching some sturgeon, some tuna. I think scenically, as a camera director standpoint, visually it would look the best.
And you avoid a lot of the stuff from Python because you're in.
Can you let
one
AJ
spot.
finish?
You
I'm
know,
just kidding.
That's neat.
So you're saying you want to go to Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay, trip to Hawaii.
We can do boards there.
Yeah, trip to Hawaii. Yeah, there's
But,
Ryan with my credit card.
We'll get him some dresses while we're there.
Usually the
What?
big
Ashley.
Yeah.
the big water excursions, the boat's bigger. There's more room. I think.
Did you ever see our original lake trout episode from season 1?
No, I saw
Good.
Walleye with Dr. Drew.
Okay. He was. In
I
the
like
back
that
of-
one though, because that one looked pretty cool. It visually looked good.
Brook
Yeah,
trout.
yeah.
Brook trout was gorgeous.
Correct.
But we were using the 5 DSRs at the time,
Mm-hmm.
the cameras, and the focus. is-
DSLRs are best for filming.
Stop it! Don't even get me started. I get angry when I think about it.
The less guide, the better. In my, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that-
just me, and that's how I've.
But the
grown.
problem is with the big water. If we go somewhere where it's big water, we don't have a big water boat. He's like, get one.
I want.
that would be a thing that you would have to
Yeah.
clarify before we
Yeah.
did it, though.
Maybe instead of using a guide, because we know what we're doing at this point with a lot of that stuff, especially like lake trout and lake trout you would find beautiful. That's like the perfect hybrid of what you're saying. If we did a lake trout trip, someone like Jacob Bartinsky where we can hang out with as
Yeah.
opposed to having like a guide would probably be a better
Correct. Yeah.
better
Yeah.
mix. Cause
I like him.
because we know what we're doing, and it's like, I noticed that with walleye too. It's like we're jigging on the Detroit River, and we wanted to incorporate Jeremy in that episode, but it's like I'm asking questions I know the answer to for the audience because he never does it. And
Yeah.
he's supposed to. It's literally like his role, Jeffries, but he doesn't do it. So I have to ask all these questions that I know the answer
I
to,
don't want to sound stupid. That's why I let you do that.
but I don't. I have to ask all these questions that I know the answers to, and I don't really like doing that anymore. And as we're growing, we used to rely on guides a lot more, and now it's like kind of. I'm not saying we're an expert at anything.
No,
We're
we're not.
We're just okay at everything.
I like the aspect
Yeah.
of doing it ourselves and kind of learning the craft along
Like
the way.
bear.
If we could find someone like Brian Baker down in Florida or something,
Yeah.
that would be cool. He was
Yeah.
a great fishing guy.
He's like the perfect mix of hanging out with
yeah.
Correct.
and also
Knows
he
to
made
kind
it
of
very
keep away,
enjoyable.
put in his
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
expertise when it's necessary. But
perfect.
Yep. And knows what
That's
we're doing.
the thing. That's the thing too. Is like we somewhat have an unrealistic expectation sometimes when we go out with guides, where it's like they need to know what it's like to be on the TV show while they met us that morning.
Yeah,
and did one pre-production call with him.
They're too.
You know what I mean?
They're too. There's too much pre-panic, and it's getting old.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So that's why I said big water. Doesn't have to be the ocean, but something.
we could just
It just looks good
we
on
could
camera.
Just rent boats. We could just rent our own boat and just go out and do it ourselves
Where are you thinking that we could get a?
anywhere.
Most places.
You can rent a boat in Lake St. Clair. You can rent a boat on the ocean. You can rent a boat.
Yeah,
You know,
that's-
they keep track of like what the water conditions are, and they're like, if in the ocean, especially if like the waves are going to be so high, they won't let you rent.
I would
a
do
boat.
that
But-
right
out there in
away.
a 21-foot pontoon.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, like lobster trapping would be cool.
yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah, I actually reached out to a group that did lobster trapping. They're like, yeah, we'd love to have you out. We'll do crabbing. We can
That
do
was in
lobster.
New England, right?
Yeah, it was in Maine.
That'd be cool.
Or no, maybe in Maine. I don't remember, but they were like, yeah, we'll take you out. We do groups of 15 at a time. I was like, no.
We hate people we don't know.
Well, it's not. I mean, fishing with other people can be
No,
fun.
we hate people we don't
when
know.
when you're not filming. But when you're filming, everyone can't talk. Sorry, but you can't talk
don't get to
because
talk for a while.
your voice is going to be in the background, Glenn, and you
Glenn.
just
Yeah, Glenn.
yeah, he listens to the podcast. He's going to get the reference. Too many people talk in the background, and then that takes away from the moment. you know?
Oh, I've got another. Someone wrote into us. It'd be my sister, Lily, my 6-year-old niece, would like to weigh in on this, and she'd like us to go after sperm whales. So apparently, she doesn't realize what laws are. But
I'm
that's
glad.
cute. But
We're going to go free
Why wait?
diving for him.
What made her think of that?
actually, sperm whales are her favorite. That's her favorite.
So she wants us to kill them.
That's what I think. She's a little torn. Maybe catch and release is her.
You know how
Oh,
much
okay.
meat? You know how much meat you would get off one of those things?
Yeah.
How much? Do you know
feed
how
a
much?
village.
A lot.
and
How
they
much?
They're like
they
they're
eat
like
plankton
80
too, so they wouldn't be high in
multiple tons,
mercury.
right?
This is a random fact online that I might be completely mistaken on, but I want to say they're like 80 foot long.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, they're.
She thinks they're super cool. Like her backpack has sperm
I like-
whales on it. Her water bottles has sperm whales on it. She likes the brand Vineyard Vines that has
Yep,
the
the
little
whale.
sperm whale as her logo.
Never heard of that.
Is
Everything
that
that
specifically a sperm?
Is that
whale?
Lisa Frank?
it looks like one.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes! They're 40 feet and weigh
Oh,
from
man.
77,000 pounds to 130,000
I was gonna
pounds.
say yeah.
Price is Right rules. I lose.
Yeah,
Yep. I said like 2,000.
it's like
pounds.
Jeff when he goes off the diet. How dare you?
In front of everyone.
How dare you, Jeff? What's your idea? Oh, no, he's mad. I'm not talking now.
I wanted to finish an episode that we've tried several times and that we have
Why would you
pre-produced
He's
wanna
gonna
do
say
that?
several
turkey. He's
times,
gonna say turkey.
and that's never
Wild
worked
boar?
out.
Turkey.
And I want to do a coyote hunt.
Oh
Oh.
no, that sounds like a
now
lot
you
of
don't
work.
sound
That's a
Every
dumb idea.
year, every year, Ray, who is great for filming with, goes out with his group, and they get between 80 to 100, and I think they got 135
The
coyotes
week
last year.
before we're supposed to go.
Yeah, right. So I called
Correct.
him early this
Every
year and
time.
said, we still want to do a coyote hunt. He said, you're more than welcome to. We've only gotten 40 so far. It's like, so we got to go in the next like week.
That's where they shine the flashlight. We tried that and it just
Well,
didn't
they
work.
they go out with dogs during the day and try to push them. They're a nuisance out where they're at, so you know they're pretty
Nuisance
open,
everywhere.
pretty open to different ways you can hunt them. But yeah, then at nighttime you can go out with a red light and use a call, which sounds like a
Oh, that's
it's a
right.
dying
we
rabbit.
tried that, and they projected those.
I remember-
horrible calls.
We
at
did it
night.
for like an hour though.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It was cold, and we complained every time we got out of the truck.
Are you sure this is a good spot?
Before we get out of the truck, are you sure?
Yeah.
My favorite was, though, Ryan, you weren't there. This was AJ's first time doing a coyote hunt. So, like, we're out at night, and he's already like, why are we out here? And then we, like, go to these random spots off the side of the road, get out of the car, shut the door, and then shine this big, bright red light at, like, the woods. And then we start doing this crazy call, and AJ looks at me like, is this... You guys are
Is this
messing
for
with
real?
You guys
It's
are messing with me,
It's
right?
one of those calls where it's like a box, and then
It's called
it
a
has
box
an
call.
optional attachment where it's got a tail and it can fling the tail, and then he's like, and it's a rabbit or a
sounds like
some
you're-
small animal.
It sounds like you're field dressing a cat.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what it's.
That's alive.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, but and then AJ's face when we were doing it. So Jeffrey,
This has to be a joke.
So, anyways, I called Ray. He said he was open to it. He was ready to go. He's open every weekend except for March 9th is the only weekend he can't do. But by then they'll probably be done anyways. So he said it's better if we wait until there's snow. So hopefully it snows again. And then I called a taxidermist because I'm hesitant about eating coyote just because
stop
people
eating
don't.
things that are normal.
Yeah, so I figured we'd go to a taxidermist. We can do like
You're gonna get like Lou Gehrig's
Pelt.
disease or something random.
a pelt or like a tanning thing as opposed to cooking, just to show people that there's other stuff you can do just besides eating.
I watched a video the other day of a guy who made coyote jerky,
Yeah,
and he's like,
for his dog or
Yeah.
no, for himself, and because he wanted to like, he's like a chef.
Okay.
I guess he's a pretty popular chef with outdoor food or
Big
outdoor
shot.
animals. And
Was a popular chef. No, I'm just
what?
kidding.
not
And-
since we came on the scene.
I meant the fact that he makes coyote jerky, but yeah, because we're so great at cooking. But go ahead.
he made the jerky, and I guess he said when he tried it, he said that you couldn't tell him it wasn't beef.
Really,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've-
it's
I mean,
dry,
AJ's
so-
already mad
We
because he's
shouldn't-
heard that 100 times.
we shouldn't be surprised though because I mean we've cooked some things that didn't turn out that great, but for the most part, most meats that people are like, oh, why on earth would you eat
When
that?
it's
Turns out
dehydrated.
to be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of
Especially if
people.
you
It's sometimes pretty good.
soak it in salt and teriyaki and
Pepper.
whatever else you put on your jerky.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I'd eat it.
A
If
lot
it was
of
jerky.
a lot of people make anything in a jerky in order to like hide the taste to something that isn't great. You know, it's like a go-to saying when people get a big buck, like a 14 point. They're like, yeah, it's gonna go on the wall and get some good sausage and jerky out of that guy. 'Cause,
Make meatballs and add bacon. There you go.
that was you made that recipe,
you-
the other night.
It looked pretty good.
Yeah, it turned out great.
You posted it on your Facebook. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
trying to
posted
teach
it on
Jeff
Facebook.
how to use social media since he
I'm-
doesn't use it at all.
I'm learning.
You're not learning. You're not even trying.
He's not trying. Well,
know what?
you can't. Don't attack. Like you can't attack him when he finally
So
did
aggressive.
something. It's like give him a break. He finally did it.
I'm not very flashy or
No, you're horrible at
don't
it.
feel
No,
it.
I turn on him too.
I don't feel the need to share every thought in my head
Yeah,
with the
we've
public.
done. We've done.
know who does
We've
that.
done this conversation. Whoa!
Not you.
Oh,
Not you.
Oh yeah. We like whisper names. Not you,
I'm
Ryan.
not
It's-
a, okay,
the
I'm
ones
like,
who
I'm not a
ask
part
for,
of this, and I don't really post either.
The ones who ask for suggestions.
Oh, that's don't even.
Yep.
Yeah. You get the person who's like, "Hey, this is where I live, and I was looking for recommendations on a store where I can buy popcorn." It's like Google it. You have Google. This is not.
It took you longer to do this than it would to do Google.
Correct.
It's like when Facebook says what's on your mind, don't actually tell it. That's
Yes.
don't post that. God, oh my gosh, drives me nuts.
That's what I was referring
So
to.
Ryan, you got the crawdads in Louisiana,
Yep.
and your reasoning is decent, but your preparation skills are maybe.
Well, wait.
Hold on. I'm gonna rate all this. Your idea is a 10. I love it, especially the toothless guy. The problem is, is you said toothless guy because you don't have one and you don't have a guide yet. So you get like a 10 for idea, 0 for preparation. AJ,
2 hours ago. Guys, come up with an idea for a new episode.
Before we move on to AJ, I want to know what you think, why you rated the reasoning for that episode
right, let
so
me tell you
high.
right now what.
I guess his reasoning was basically, I wanna.
Yeah, I want to as well. That was
Isn't
good
that why
enough.
we do any of our hunts?
Yeah, I
'Cause
know.
we want
I
to?
want to do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
So then everyone
Okay,
gets
well,
a 10.
Shut
for-
up.
No. I want to go to Louisiana because I want to try the food. Mm-hmm. I really want to do a crawdad hunt. It sounds like something that could be well managed and produced well,
Yep.
so that it could be not scripted but pretty well set up, so we could execute properly. It'd be very risk free, which is another big
You
thing
got a
on
little
my.
clause.
I'm on the risk platform of
Yep.
this being our last episode. We can't try and do all 3 of these, so I need whichever one to be a success.
I'll make mine a success.
So
Count on it.
Ryan's success possibilities is an 8.
Yeah.
His episode idea is a 10 because of the food in New Orleans, and I want to do it. And his preparation's 0. AJ's idea of hating guides, but also but also wanting to go on big water is a bit of a contradiction in itself. So I rate his idea overall a 7.
Fair.
I do want to do it, but I worry that his idea requires warmer weather, or I'm going to be
true.
miserable on big water and cold weather.
Oh.
So I knock him down to a 6 for what I want to do. Preparation, I give him a 6 because we have people that can take us out on that. And I give it so he's like a 6 or 7, whereas you're like
Wow.
a big swing. Yeah, because he
Big 7.
has options.
High 7.
But hold on. So you're like a 10 and an 8. He's like a 6 and a 6, and he doesn't get the third scale because it's cold. So so Jeffrey's idea, again with the risk, while we can go to Ray's and do that, the chaos of the fact that we're already doing a rabbit hunt with Ray, and then for sure the coyote's going to come in second to the rabbit hunt, and we're going to be tired, and the same thing that has happened every time we try and coyote hunt is going to happen. And the thought of trying to get the B-roll and the complexities of getting a hunt at night when I don't know how
Nighttime-
prepared we are for it.
Nighttime is tough.
I give you a 0, so Ryan wins. We will go to Louisiana. Louisiana wins.
Yes.
Louisiana
It is-
wins. So Ryan,
Probability is high. I
yeah,
would say that.
the probability is what has me. I want to go to Louisiana AO. So Ryan, I'm putting you in charge of. You better look up the seasons though, and I don't think
Yeah.
I don't know what the seasons are, and we need to have this hunt filmed before April. So there's your
For April.
your task at hand, and that's what we'll go with.
All right.
Philosophical question.
Wait. What was your idea?
Oh yeah, what was
Let's
your idea?
rank
I'm
you,
just
big
jo-
shot.
He's just a judge.
I'm just a.
We're ready. Go ahead.
I think we should go for bears. No, I'm just kidding.
Pooh Bears.
Our philosophical question: What regulations should be put in place for illegally killing an animal? And let me explain that. That's not very well worded. What sort of proof do you need to have that you did it out of self-defense? So, Ryan, I'm going to let you cover the story of what just happened in Colorado. But a guy was attacked. Should I not do that?
No, you should. Yeah, it's
I
insane.
should-
The story's insane.
Yeah, the story is insane. My jokes and texts were hilarious about it, though. Ryan's the only one that laughed at my text. We'll talk to you two later about it. But it was hilarious. And the pictures.
funny.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah, yeah.
great.
I
You guys
forgot
are
about that.
horrible. My joke was there was a guy in Colorado that was attacked by a cougar, and I said I Googled pictures of cougars for this episode so I could show the pictures of the cougars on the screen. But when I Googled cougars, if this is what he was attacked by, I don't know what this guy's problem is because this looks awesome. But that was like a funny, perverted joke. Ryan's the only one that laughed, but I don't need you guys to laugh. But cougars are actually very dangerous. Ryan, talk about what happened in Colorado, and then we'll dive into what does this mean and,
What should happen?
Yeah,
next?
what should happen? Is it in self-defense, and how do you prove it? Go ahead.
Yeah.
those are big cats.
So yeah, this guy in Colorado was just going for a jog down a fire trail in the woods, and I guess he got the feeling that this unnatural feeling as though something was watching him. So he stopped in the trail and like looked over his shoulder, and up like kind of on the hill, about 20 feet away, was a juvenile.
So it wasn't
Mountain
full
lion.
grown.
It was still 80 pounds.
Oh,
80 pounds of fury. It's
And-
like me in high school. Go ahead.
And it pounced on him and attacked him. But so I guess he threw his arm up into its mouth to block it from coming at his neck, and then from there he choked the thing to death.
See, the thing is, though, if you choke a cougar to death and no one's around to film it, you get to kind of add to the story a little bit.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
see
mean?
you're
Like,
saying, yeah.
it's yours to develop
That's
the story.
true.
I think. How else could he kill it?
I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm saying that
You
I
have the
guarantee
ability.
that the outline of the story is true. But there's like a 25% thing where he's like, chicks are going to dig it if I say this.
and then a bear came, and I found that out too.
There was a redacted part in the written down part.
So
of that.
what really happened?
That is what happened.
I know, but like, so an 80-pound thing had him bit his arm, and that was it.
Then
Was he-
choked
was
it out.
he messed up?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
so he choked it out.
Well, he
Okay,
hasn't.
whatever.
I guess from what I was reading, he hasn't really spoken to any like news people yet about it, but the stories come out of what happened, like from the hospital and everything. He kind of mentioned it to some people there.
Yeah, he's probably negotiating big deals with like Good Morning America and stuff like that. You keep your mouth shut until you develop the right deal.
Yep.
And you get paid on for an exclusive interview. He'll be on
Exactly.
60 Minutes and
yeah.
banking if
I
he's
was
smart.
going to say not everyone's looking for fame, but that's not true.
They're looking
That's
for
also
money.
yeah. Welcome to
Hey,
2019.
we know a guy who turned that into a motivational thing and started his own.
We don't know him. We listened to a speech at a wild game dinner once. But go
I know the guy.
He was also attacked by a cougar, which is actually not that uncommon when they're overpopulated areas. If you're in their areas, if they're hungry and they think they can take you, and that's what's really remarkable about this story is this guy's jogging. I don't know how big this guy was, but an average man is 160, 170 pounds,
Yeah.
we'll say.
5'9", 5'8".
You can tell how tall Adrian and I are how tall we are because we lean towards the shorter. Like most people would be like 6 foot, we're like probably 5'8" is way more. I'm 5'10", so obviously I'm way bigger. But let's say that this guy is 5'10" and he weighs 160 pounds. That 80-pound cat was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat that.
I can take them.
I'm gonna eat that.
Imagine holding.
They're
just
aggressive.
Imagine just holding a regular cat.
Yeah, how
And
mean they
decide-
are.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
try
Ugh.
choking that for a couple. Like, I'm not saying you should do it, but
Wow, Ryan.
Everyone at home, take
He was probably.
hypothetically, if you did it, that little cat,
would ruin your arms.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Destroy your arms.
and whatever else it wanted to.
This thing has claws the size of one of those paws.
And
Yeah.
its back
Ugh.
legs are even its front legs. It's just so much insanely strong compared to a
Powerful.
human.
I wonder how many stitches he had to get.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot.
I don't know.
I know, it bit his arm. So did he get bit anywhere else?
As far as I know, it was mostly just kind of like around his upper body.
Yeah.
He had some injuries.
You figure if you're choking it out, the claws are free.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Unless you have it like back to your chest and
Yeah.
Even then,
with-
Well, no, but he was like this, so the face
Yeah.
was right here.
Yeah.
And he's choking it out, so it's.
well, I don't know if that's the way he did it. There could have been more of a fight where he was able to somehow get on its back. But even then, cats.
what's that move called?
Cats.
Get him from behind.
Rear choke.
Yeah. Okay. That's how I think. That's how I.
That's
see
how
it
I
happening.
picture.
Sleeper hold.
Yeah. That's how I see it happening.
But even if he was
You're
doing
a
the
monster.
rear choke on it like that, cats can still bend their bodies
Oh,
up,
yeah.
back,
Right.
like
Keep
that
in mind,
and
this
reach.
cat was hunting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, he's not like a
It looked at him and went,
My,
take him.
sure.
a similar
sure.
situation happened to my uncle in Idaho.
Really?
Yeah.
What animal?
Same.
Cougar?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the mountain lions will mess you up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He was out.
What was his inflated story?
Nice.
Let's hear the 25% part only.
Well, it's that his story is not as cool as this, but he was out deer hunting.
He's out cougar hunting. Well, with a knife.
my
Well,
Saturday
what did
night.
you think would
That's my
happen?
Saturday night.
Yeah.
He was out deer hunting and he was walking back down the trail to just leave to go home, and same thing happened to him where he got like this eerie feeling as though something was watching him, and he turned around and saw the cat just real low to the ground, just staring at him in the middle of the trail, and he just drew his gun as quick as it could. As soon as he started to turn, it started to come at him, and he shot it right through the body and was able to kill it.
Well,
You got to understand that these cats get so big, too. You're talking about 80-pounders are
That's
babies.
and that's a juvenile. Yeah, that's
You're talking about babies. I mean, these things get monstrous. And the mountain lions are just different. They will just kill you. They will just hunt you. It's not like...
Well, that's
they
kind
have
of
a-
how cats are. Like
Yeah.
I can kill that, so I will. I
Yeah.
don't care if
That's
I have
true.
to eat
Play
it.
with it.
You
Yeah.
ever
It's like
seen,
raccoons. Raccoons do that too.
Yeah, you ever seen a cat kill a mouse? They play with it.
Yeah.
yeah.
They're monsters.
Yeah.
But no, they'll kill you. That's all there is to it. And people like have this false belief that like,
It's a big kitty.
yeah, it's a big kitty, like this and that. They will kill you. And all this mumbo jumbo about looks at me like an old mom. Like,
Right.
Look at all this mumbo jumbo. But like
Old mom.
Joe Rogan was talking about it, and he's like, enough of the crap about like, oh, we're infiltrating their habitat and this and that and everything. If you want humans to go away, that's one thing. But if you're around cougars, even if you live in an area where cougars are, you could go 4 years with only having one sighting in your backyard, even if your backyard was in the middle of where they live.
Yeah. Oh,
You're not
yeah.
going to see them very often. But when
It's
you
like
do,
Bigfoot.
they will kill you.
Yeah.
And at the same token, like, in these areas where they get super overpopulated and stuff, and they venture out, I mean, and they're killing a deer a day, and their population numbers have to be put in check, and that's a whole nother debate in itself. And I can go down the road of like, obviously you should have a hunting season for them. You should regulate it. You should sell licenses. You should focus on the conservation of them
Always.
and do it that
Go out
way,
with an expert.
as opposed to
Yes.
like California where they're like, no, we'll make it illegal, but then when we have
We
a bunch
want to be attacked.
when we have a bunch of problems with them, we'll hire sharpshooters and pay them thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
dollars, as opposed to
Yeah.
having a huntable population, and it's just common sense. But
Yep.
my whole point of the philosophical question was, so we've talked about the 25% part, right? So in the situation where it's like the story is always a little bit inflated, and that's fine, but the true story and what it is, you always have to wonder. And my question is, let's say you're in a state where mountain lions, it's illegal to hunt them, right? And you kill one in self-defense. How do they know that? How do they prove it? And what law, where does the law come in? For instance, this actually happened to me. I was charged by a black bear, a booner, of course, but for real. But it was like 400 or 500 pounds. Jeff, you've seen the footage.
I've seen it.
I was charged by a black bear in Colorado. I did not have a black bear tag. I was in a primitive area where you're only allowed to carry a bow, no sidearm, no nothing. 400 to 500 pound black bear.
You're not allowed to carry them?
Not allowed to carry a sidearm of any kind.
Wow.
The way I protected myself was throwing the biggest rocks I could lift at him, and he was growling at me like a dog. We were screaming, yelling, and he kept coming. He never made contact with me, and he eventually went off on his way. But let's say I drew my bow and killed that bear in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
How do I prove that? No, I happen to have camera guys with me and stuff like that, so I would have been able to prove it. But what's fair? Like, how do you prove it?
Yeah.
Like, so philosophical question. You're out. No, someone else is out, and they kill an endangered species, or they kill an animal that there's no hunting allowed. For instance, a cougar in California. They kill an animal that's not allowed, and they're like, "I killed it in self-defense, choked it out, blah blah blah." How do you believe them? What should be like? Yep, we believe this guy, or nope, we don't. Or is it just simply, well, we'll go on his character? I mean, what is the
How
what is the
injured
point?
he is.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what I was going to say.
What if he's really good? He's like,
Make sure that it gets you good, so that way when you get in, you're like, see, self-defense.
Exactly.
I'm missing a finger.
but you can understand the hypocrisy and how stupid that is.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't, though. Like, I feel like
So if a guy defends himself well and makes a good quick moves and gets a couple knife shots in and doesn't get totally messed up, it's like, you're gonna get fined
is he
and go
going
to
to
jail.
report it, though?
Oh, heck, everyone's gonna report it, and you have to report it technically.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you didn't report it,
Well,
now you're in trouble no matter.
If you don't have any wounds, like for instance, for like that bear charging you, let's say you kill it.
What if I
Are you going to go back and drag it to the DNR and say, "Hey, we just killed this bird," or are you going to leave it there and say,
That's part of the problem.
I'm alive.
I would have
sorry."
I would have to go tell him.
Okay.
So let's say I didn't have a camera crew with me, and I go out and I have my bow only, and he's coming at me and he starts charging me, and I shoot the arrow and he jumps up, he gets knocked off the cliff from the impact or something like that, and goes off. I killed him.
Yeah.
First things first.
killed them.
So
Whether you're
I'm not
innocent or
injured.
not.
I'm not injured. Did I do something wrong?
Oh, well,
I
And then
protected
you
myself.
felt like
They-
your life was at risk.
Yeah.
They
Cops
treat you
don't,
like you do.
you know?
Because first things first, you're going to jail for like a week.
And then
while
they'll
they
figure it out.
out what's
Yeah.
going on. Even if you have film that you were in self-defense.
Yeah.
well,
It's an insane.
with my uncle who had killed the cat, he didn't have a tag for it.
I thought you were going to say, well, my uncle who killed a bear. I'm like, how many uncles do you have, and how many
Right.
different big animals have they? Oh,
One's on SEAL Team 6, the other one's killing cats.
I have an uncle that killed a Bigfoot, and
No, well, he did the same. He reported it, and they're like, okay, well, you can't keep it or anything, obviously. And he's like, all right, that's fine. I didn't take it legally. It was just in self-defense, which I guess would have been legal.
I guess with cougars, they're liable to believe you, because there's.
You're going to have some
Yeah.
scars, I feel like, some battle wounds.
But he didn't.
Yeah, no,
Neither did I.
He was
That's where
completely
he shot
safe.
it. Yeah.
But he just reported it. He let them all know, and he had the animal and said, "Here's the animal. This is what happened." And they said, "Okay."
Maybe they just go off your word.
That, I mean,
Well,
that's basically what it came down to. Because what do you get for? You don't get anything from it if you can't keep the animal.
Yeah.
yeah. With a cougar,
What do they do
though,
with the animal?
I don't know.
Get it mounted and put it up in their
Yeah,
office.
probably.
I feel like with a cougar, like with a bear, you could see one and leave. With a cougar, I feel like you wouldn't see them unless
Uh-oh.
it's already coming after
Well,
you.
that-
Otherwise, you like.
What an
they're-
insane story, considering his uncles just contradict exactly what you just said. So let's move right on from that.
No, he said he
His uncle saw it and killed it before it got to him. You're saying he wouldn't have seen it. He literally saw it. That just happened. We just
That's
talked.
not what I was saying.
No,
at
he's
all.
saying there's the circumstances.
Don't attack me.
When you see a bear could be on the other side of this room, and the bear might be like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
and just take off. But if you see the cat, it wants you to see.
It's already
It wants you to see him.
getting ready to jump on
Right.
you or whatever.
So you're saying with a cougar, it should be like no holds
If
barred.
you see it, it's already coming after you, so you already
Get
know
ready.
you're in danger.
Those things, they're so
And-
elusive.
Unless you shot it at, that's because you hunt them by running dogs, and then how horrible would it be to be the dog for that one though? But they run them up the tree, and then they're up there, and then you shoot them out of the tree, and that's the
Yeah.
tactic. So technically, there's a way to hunt them.
Yeah.
Without.
But if you're just
without
out for
them
like a
seeing-
jog and it's only in self-defense,
But that's what I'm saying though. You could go out with dogs, get the lion in the tree, shoot him out of the tree because you wanted to. I'm not saying anyone would. I mean, don't get me wrong. And then take that in and be like, I did this in self-defense. Can I keep it? They may or may not let you keep it. Sounds like they won't. But my point is like, there's no way to govern that. I guess is
It's true.
the real point.
Yeah, I mean-
and I guess it's like what you say. It's like in a murder trial. If you say I felt like my life was in danger, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like that's like the known
That's kind of
thing.
how I feel like it would go
Well, I mean,
down with the DNR.
If you get away with it, shame on you.
Yeah.
Right.
If that's what you're doing, shame on you, and
Right.
that's it.
a few people ruining it for everybody else.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing is like stories like that though. You hear a lot of the stories where people get in big trouble, like that make the news and stuff, and like Outdoor Hub and all that. It's like 8 years after the fact because they went around blabbing,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
bragging
And
about
word-
it.
word
Yeah.
gets
Oh, I got
around.
this buck in January, or I got
Yep.
this and that, and that's the stories that you see that make the big news. Is like they found a way to piece the evidence together that 9 years ago this guy did this thing, and then they just lambaste him,
Yeah.
which is good. You should get penalized. You should be held responsible for your decisions.
Sorry.
Which is why we have to be so careful because they'll watch, the DNR watches one of our episodes and
We can't make a mistake by accident, even a little one.
They can't wait.
You hunted bear. You said it was in 2013, but you didn't buy a bear license in 2013.
Right. That's that.
It's like-
I mean, they check all those things.
Yep.
That's and like for us, like Jeffrey's pretty organized with this now, at least. But every hunt that we go on, inside a folder now on Google Docs, we have all of our licenses, all of the organization, the proof of our trip, and everything right then and there. So if anyone was ever like, because they totally could, let's see your information for that hunt.
Get audited.
Boom, here you
Here it
go.
is.
We got it. We're ready to go. Which I'm actually proud of us for being that proactive because you just heard us playing an episode for this season. So.
Yeah, right?
So, moving on to our tip of the week. So, our tip of the week is pretty simple. And it has to do with ice fishing. And I did this past weekend with Jeff, especially on Sunday. When you have a big warm up that happens, a lot of times people will be like, why would you go out ice fishing right then and there? Matter of fact, when we were out ice fishing, my mom still hasn't learned. She called and yelled at me and was like, are you out on the ice right now? Are you stupid? It's 55 degrees. But that one day of warm up will not melt the ice. It takes days to deteriorate good solid ice in the cold.
Probably
So
days,
if
yeah.
you can check the weather and see a day where it's going to be 50, 55 degrees randomly inside a pocket of cold days, and you've got good safe ice, and that warm day is going to come, I guarantee the fish are going to be hitting. And we did really good this past weekend on pike with tip-ups and stuff
Jeff,
like
you look like you just got done with basketball practice.
that. He did. Hey, friends.
Hey, I was coaching.
That happened in when we were in Canada last year, where it got warm pretty much right when we got there, and in that picture, the water is on top of the ice.
Yeah.
But you're still good. There's still a million
Oh yeah.
shanties out there that
Yeah.
And
the one day you're going to be fine.
There was like 6 or 7 inches of ice underneath us at any given point, so there was no.
Minimum. No, I think there's closer to 10. So there's 10 inches of ice, and then on top, and what gets a lot of people that don't know anything about ice is they'll look at it and be like, there's water.
melting.
It's melting. It's black. It's water. It's not safe. But the ice is still good. It's just the slush that was on top of the snow that was on top has now become water. So it's a pain in the butt because you got the drainage of the water and you got an inch or two of water on top of the ice. But the fish go berserk for during that time, during those warm-ups. So that's the best time to fish. So tip of the week, look for the warm days, pocket it in the cold days. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the idea of farm-raised versus wild-caught fish and the pros and cons of that. Stay tuned. You're a hunter, and because you hunt, you're the world's greatest conservationist. You're a huntervationist. You do more for wildlife and conservation than anyone. The Sportsman Alliance protects hunters from the animal rights movement. When the Sportsman Alliance gets involved in court cases or legislation, hunters win. Conservation wins. Become a Huntervationist today and join the Sportsman Alliance like we did to help protect your rights against the animal rights movement.
Hot Shot Outfitters in Port Hope, Michigan is the destination for whitetail deer, crow, waterfowl, rabbit, predator, and turkey hunts. We have cabins, over 30,000 non-fenced acres, and a passion for delivering fair chase hunts to you and your family. Reserve your hunt at hotshotoutfitters.com today.
When your hands are busy, your mind gets right. When your hands are busy, you can't point fingers and complain that life isn't fair. When your hands are busy, you're serving your family, your friends, and your community. When your hands are busy, you show everyone what you're capable of. The all-new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year.
Hello and welcome back to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. Our social media comment of the week comes from a gentleman of the name of Don, and I'm not going to say his last name, Jeff.
Bosch? Maybe the end silent.
Bosch?
Cheadle.
What? That's not right. But Don said
Rickles?
it was on a link to our recipe page for the Greenway Outdoors recipes, and it was talking about walleye. Specifically, it was that link. He said, I used to eat a lot of fish. Now I'm concerned about eating chemically polluted fish. I'll keep the smaller ones, and the rest go back to fight again. Also, carefully filleting and removal of all the bellies and fat is a must. And I would say that that's a pretty intelligent comment.
I would say so.
What else did he put?
What do you mean?
That
It
was
says ...
it.
Yeah, he just he just
He
wanted
ended
to,
like it's a must.
yeah,
And then-
he's just trying to build us
Yep,
up.
exactly.
And then he disappeared into the sunset. But going into the actual comment itself, the 3 C's. So choosing your fish wisely, especially in the Detroit River where we caught those walleye. They say 6 to 12 times a year it's safe as long as you follow the 3 C's. So those 3 C's are number 1, choose the fish wisely, meaning don't keep the massive ones. So keep the small ones, like the ones Jeff catches.
Yeah, you want they say that you have to catch a walleye that's at least, 14, 16 inches.
16 is the limit.
That's the ones you keep.
15? 15? 15.
Maybe
15, I think it is.
Don't quote us on that. Check your local regulations.
Yeah.
But
Plus
like
it's
those
different
are the
every
ones you
bottle.
want to keep because they're legal, and those are the smallest ones, so they haven't lived longer and collected more toxins.
Yeah, like when they say good eater size, when they say that with deer, they're not correct. But when they say it with fish, it actually makes a lot of sense. So like those 15 to like 21 inchers are like the ones that you really want to keep and eat because they're not as old, so they don't have as much pollutants inside them and the heavy metals and stuff like that. But choose your fish wisely. So finding out that slot. Number 2, cleaning them properly. And like he mentioned, cutting off all the belly fat and getting off any noticeable visual fat as well. So cutting off the bellies and only taking the fillets off that. And the way you cook it. You want to cook it on the grill or in some fashion that you can actually make sure that the fat is rendered off.
So like on a rack in an oven, roast it, that kind of thing.
Right. So that's the 3 C's for fish especially. And if you do that in the Detroit River, you're fully safe to eat walleye 6 times a year if you don't follow the 3 C's and 12 times a year if you do.
What do you mean 12 times? Like 12 fish a year?
12. You're allowed to eat 12
one a month.
servings.
Okay. Oh, I
Servings
see.
of the fish
Oh.
to not consume
it.
too many metals and things
Correct.
like that.
Okay.
And keep in mind, at one point, it really wasn't safe at all. They've done a really big project bringing back the Canadian governments as well as the United States to bring back the fishery and the health of the Detroit River, and it's made incredible progress. I mean, you hear about like the Lake Erie fires and stuff like
Yeah.
that they used to talk about, and obviously the Detroit River is connected to all those bodies of water. But it's come a long ways, and it's a lot cleaner. And I think it's because it's fast and cold, that fast moving, that it's just a complete guess. But you'd think cleaning something that's constantly
Flushes itself out.
exactly.
Yeah.
But they've done a really good job of it. Now you can actually
When
eat
they
the
used to
fish
use
out
it
of
as their dump,
Oh, yeah.
People take their garbage and just right in.
Very
That's
sad.
why you got to worry about bottom feeders like catfish and stuff like that, because they eat a lot of stuff on the bottom, and all that stuff sediments, settles down to the bottom.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's gross. But that being said, his question kind of inspired me to think more into fish in general. So I spent a good amount of time doing some research, and I know you guys did too, on the farm-raised versus wild-caught fish and what the pros and cons are to the two. Now, to be honest, I would have thought that, and that's a fish farm right
Oh,
there.
wow. I've
And
never
as you
seen
can
one
see,
before.
yeah, those are individual little crates
Pens.
almost. So it's in a body of water, and think of it like a fencing. So they put the fish in the fencing so water can move in and out of it, out of the actual netting. So they're getting fresh water, and it's just placed in that body of water, and then they feed them in there, and then the fish come up and feed off the top and stuff like that. Whereas when you think farming, you think like a little gross pond.
I thought like in a warehouse where they would
Well,
have like
they do
multiple
all of that.
tanks.
Yeah, they do do
ponds.
that.
They do that,
Okay.
but
They
what
do
I
it in the
showed you
ocean.
there is the most common.
Yeah.
What I
Okay.
just showed you there, and I just want to show the bay eating fish because it's
Pretty
natural.
cool.
But I just thought it was cool when I found it. But that being said, they'll put a lot of times one of the tactics to do this is they'll put the fish in those big like live aquarium things where the water can pass through, so they're getting clean water all the time. And then they'll feed them the enhanced food. Now for salmon, we'll stick with that specifically. Normally, what they'll do, and this isn't sustainable long term, they'll go out and catch small fish, churn it up into a mush, and then mix that with algae. That is actually where the omega fatty acids come from. So the small fish eat the algae, and then the bigger fish eat those small fish, and that's how the omega 3s and
wow.
omega fatty acids travel through
quite the system.
to the big fish. Yeah, God's great. But so what happens in this case is they mix algae in with the mushed up fish, and then that's what they feed the salmon. So because of that, I was like, well, wild caught salmon versus farm raised salmon. Of course, wild caught's gonna be far healthier, and they're actually really, really close. Now the calorie content in the farm raised is higher, but the fats are also higher. But you got to remember, these are good fats. These
Correct.
are fats that you want.
Yes.
Whereas in the wild caught did have a couple benefits, more calcium and selenium, I believe, were higher in the studies that I read.
They have a more diverse diet, so they can eat a lot.
Right,
of
and they're
things.
leaner for obvious reasons because they're doing where they're not living in those
Yeah.
things.
They can swim around.
And their quality of life is better, which is important. But the overall aspect of health, it was like in America and that system specifically was pretty close. And in some ways, you could argue farm is better. In some ways, you could argue the wild caught was better. They did say that the PCBs, there was a couple studies that found that the PCBs were up to 10 times higher in the farm-raised fish than the wild caught. However, that was still under 2% of what is actually safe for you to consume. So there still was no danger even at that level. And there's people that have debunked that because that study was in 2014 that I said they're actually pretty close.
Okay.
Long story short, the PCBs, you don't want any of them, and you don't want mercury, and you don't want different metals in your system anyhow. Follow the 3 C's for cleaning them. But realistically, with salmon in America, is not that big a difference, actually.
Interesting.
And I actually found myself liking the farming system, and here's why. It's necessary. Otherwise, if we were all targeting the wild fish and because 50% of the fish market is farm raised, at least 50%. Imagine if that went away and we just went back to only fishing the lakes and oceans and streams, and in some ways we're already putting too much pressure on them now. You would overpressure the wild fish and you could push it to extinction. I'm not one of
Wow.
the theorists that are saying we're overpopulated as a human civilization, because it's been pretty debunked by a lot of people. But
I
at the
agree.
same time, the fish that are on the planet and how people's habits of eating fish has grown. We eat more fish now than we did years prior. So now more people are eating fish because of the omega fatty acids, because it's a healthier choice. People are more diet conscious, and people are choosing wild caught more now and organic more now than they were before. So long story short, in America specifically, and I want to be real careful on that, because when I look at the studies done in China and some of the overseas fish like tilapia from China and stuff like that, they're fed soy pellets and they're in ponds that are actually on regular farms where cow manure and pig manure and stuff like that can seep into the waterways.
90% of our tilapia comes from those places.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to really watch where you're getting the farm raised from. You have to make sure every situation's different and every fish is different. So I would not be the person to say farm raised versus wild. You go with farm raised, it's fine because it depends what country.
Yep,
it depends how that fish was raised. It depends on the type of fish. It depends on a lot of things. But the salmon specifically, that was very interesting to me.
The saying goes, you are what you eat, what they eat.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you don't want in your body, don't eat those nasty tilapia.
You know what confused me was the PCB fact that you noted earlier, because the way that the toxins and the dioxins and all those things get into the fish populations is the smaller animals eat whatever they eat, and they bring in the mercury and all that stuff. Well, then the predatory fish, the larger fish, eat the smaller fish, and they take all that fish brought in, but then they go eat another fish and they get that one, and they go, so they build up these higher mercury levels, higher dioxin levels. So I'm surprised that farm-raised fish were there in one location.
But you saw the location. They're in a somewhat safer. They're in an environment where there's pass-through, and they're being fed a controlled substance versus the randomness of what you were talking about.
Yeah, so I would think that the PCBs would be much lower in farm-raised.
Well, remember where the source of the food is coming from, though.
They're just chumming up.
They're chumming up wild-caught fish.
Yeah.
So you're just
so they're not regulating that then, maybe.
Right. So you're still grabbing it from a condensed fish that was caught wild. And that's actually not a sustainable practice to feed them that way. So they're actually looking at new ways to feed them properly that would be sustainable. Because if you're still going out and fishing, there's that. And then you talk about like the carbon footprint. So like what is healthier for the environment? Well, if you're wild caught fish, you're paying for the gas and the boats to go out and the pollution for the boats to go out and catch them, things like that, bring them back.
That's also
a
big factor. That's also not good for other species because you end up with bycatch when they're catching with nets.
Transportation. We're not against fishing, to be clear.
No.
But then the transfer to the market, there's carbon footprint there as well. Versus the farm raised, it's all right there, and a lot of these farms, like you saw in the video there, are actually local, close to the cities and the markets where they're sold.
Yeah.
So if I was to, when I look at the whole picture, if I'm going to go to the store, and I really don't buy fish very often, I eat the fish I catch, and I hunt and fish so much that I don't really buy meat. So I live in a little bit of a different world than most. But if I was to go buy fish, I would err on the side of caution. I would probably still go wild caught because I'd be knowing what I'm getting. There's less risk there. And if I was to go with farm, I would definitely want to know where that farm was that it came from. And there's ways to know that, and there's different markets that you can do that. And a lot of times they'll put like, even if you go to like Meijer or something, they'll put like U.S. caught or U.S. farm raised, blah, blah, blah. And then that they're under the standards that are in the U.S., whereas they're a lot more lenient in other countries, and that's dangerous.
I think that's important for either farm raised or wild caught because, wild caught, if you catch fish that are in, what's that big floating garbage island that's out in the middle in the Pacific, that's another factor. There's all sorts of things. I don't think they're
ever direct on that though. I don't think they'll be like it's wild caught in Tahiti. I don't think that's a thing.
No.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But the idea that what somebody should take from this is I err on the side of wild caught if I'm not eating the fish I caught. And with that being said, if you see farm-raised U.S. salmon, it's not a dangerous thing. And if you have a deficiency of fish oil or something like that, or you need to get more fatty acids in you, it might even be a healthy choice.
That's a good point. Because
and it's a good thing for our future as a world. It's not sustainable to do all wild-caught.
No. Yeah. That's a good point about the fish oils is because if you're mostly like a heavy red meat diet or like steak and potatoes all day long, you taking fish oils that kind of counteracts the bad fats which are in the red meat because a lot of the fish oil is good fats. Mm-hmm. So it's a good way to counter your diet to make it so it's not so one-sided, which is also a good fact for people to know.
Yeah, I think balance is key too. Anything in moderation is good.
You're supposed to eat fish, 2 times a week, I think it was?
That's what it says, yeah. That's what I read everywhere, at least.
Really?
Yeah. I probably do.
Random fact that I found was that whitefish, which I'm not really sure what the whitefish eats, what its diet is, but for whatever reason, you're only supposed to eat it 2 times a year because of dioxins. They, for whatever reason, they're
Whitefish? Is it whitefish? Because I eat whitefish.
Their behaviors and
Whitefish
what
anywhere?
they eat.
Because there's like white.
I know it was in Lake Michigan. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
everywhere.
That's where I eat them.
But they said that their dioxins are crazy high, and that you're not supposed to eat them more than twice a year.
See, when you say that too, it would burn me for even wanting to eat it in the first place.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, I just don't have an interest.
Maybe I just won't. I'd rather eat a salmon, knowing that
Yeah, I'm good.
I can eat this twice a week as opposed to only eat it twice a year. So
It
maybe I
also
don't
made
wanna
me
eat
feel
it.
good about salmon in restaurants because they're probably farm raised in restaurants, and they're probably USA
Usually.
sourced.
Yeah.
And there's probably less, and that's something you could even ask your waiter. You could feel comfortable if you want to order fish, ordering salmon, because it's probably going to fall under those.
Well, this past weekend when I was in Florida, I had a Lane snapper, and it was unreal.
and
how
apparently
good
you're
it
going to
was.
die now because I
And-
know.
well, we asked the waiter if where they were caught, and it was locally caught by a market close to the restaurant.
Awesome.
I just
great.
thought of this.
Tasty.
Oh my gosh, I'm not big on fish, and it was insane.
It's weird how good fresh ocean fish tastes.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
It's
What
a
were you gonna
different
say,
world
Ryan?
down there.
While you guys are all talking about like the dioxins and the mercury levels and everything, and you should only eat certain fish twice a year or this many times a week, or I wonder if someone eats a lot of fish and they're like, okay, well I can have tilapia this many times, I can have salmon this many times. How do those overlap? Because you're still like there's some you know what I mean? You could
Yeah.
Oh.
you could be eating 2 different fish that they say to eat.
You're saying it's like an equation, like, well, I'm allowed to eat walleye 12 times a year from Detroit River, but I'm only allowed to have salmon 16 times a year. And then how does the overlap and like
Yeah,
judging
because
those
you're
things?
still it's still building.
I had them
up.
all in 1 week, so
For the most part,
I've been
it's
living on
not supposed to. Those are all just guidelines. Like for example, the mercury, where a lot of fish have mercury in them. The only people that are super susceptible to that are people who are pregnant, so women who are pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Or people with low
Yep. Immune
immunodeficiencies
deficiency,
or
yep.
whatever. So a lot of people, they say only eat fish twice a week. You probably eat more than that, but it's more of an average to make sure that, the people who are more susceptible to it aren't getting overly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that much time left, but when you get right down to it, when you look at the, even like when you shoot a deer, for instance, and it's eating plants that are covered in pesticides and stuff like that from a farm field or something like that, there's a difference in the meat quality and what they're absorbing, those poisons, and to what you're getting in your meat, because if that goes in them, it goes in them. And versus, it was really cool. I'll tell you, the best deer I ever ate, I shot off of a organic bean field.
Oh, nice.
And that was a tasty.
Oh, nice.
That was a tasty, and he was eating in there every night probably. So
Most
it's
likely.
actually a she. Want to be respectful, but super tasty.
Did you just assume?
Nope,
that
I
deer's
did.
gender?
I did. It didn't have antlers, and I didn't get to ask it what it identified as, but I'm pretty sure it was a female doe.
Awesome.
Wow.
So
Assume much?
go to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. This podcast, if you were listening to it on iTunes or Spotify or any of the other platforms on how you listen to your podcasts, you may not have got to see our pretty faces, but you could if you go to our YouTube channel, The Greenway Outdoors, and check it out there. It comes out every single Wednesday night. Also, our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter pages. We'd love to hear from you on episode ideas you have, both for the television show and our podcast. Check out the new greenwayoutdoors.com. We've got merchandise coming to you very, very soon. I was going through the proofs today and going back and forth with them. I didn't like a couple of the things, so I had to make some changes, and I got to wait
Kidding
again.
me.
But hopefully they'll be. I know.
Gotta be
Been wait-
perfect.
I've been waiting
you'll
ages.
You'll thank me when they're good.
You'll thank him.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Greenway Outdoors podcast. Stay green.